The Dingers podcast is on the air. This is episode 101. I'm your host, Mitch, and I'm here with Jeff, Kevin, and Jake. We're here to talk Cubs 2022 season recap. How are you guys tonight? Kevin, how was your professional development for teaching today? Long, grueling?
It was all right. We had working on the authentic learning strategies, kind of getting crazy with some projects. I'm about to launch some hydroponics in the classroom. Got a big old farm system that I built on Friday. We'll see
Do you have
how it
grow
goes.
lights? What are you growing?
Well, we have lettuce, basil.
You should try a
There's
more,
a third thing.
something with a higher revenue strain.
Yeah, what strand of lettuce? Is it the devil's?
Is it the electric lettuce?
None of that. Though that was a joke that we were
Oh,
talking
I'm
about. Like, this is
sure.
why you can't let the students bring in seeds just in case.
Yep. Good call. Jeff, how are you recovering from the cake? I heard you had a nice morning the following day.
I totally forgot how much food coloring can screw with your digestive system. And I was quite shocked. First thing in the morning.
Green?
Rainbow gift waiting for you.
Green, totally green. But I tell you what, I kind of wish I had a cake right now. I do.
Should have brought another one, 101 cake.
Right. I mean, I love everything that ends in cake. Cupcakes, birthday cake, wedding cake, funeral cake, graduation cake, coffee cake. You name
Coffee cake. I love me some coffee
Right.
cake.
Yeah.
My wife makes me coffee cake every birthday and Father's Day. So I get it pretty close, bam, bam, because my birthday's in July. So
Yeah.
it. Nice.
Nice.
Good stuff.
Yeah, that is like late June, July. It's coffee cake season.
yep.
Right. Do you just take the pan and a fork and go to a corner,
Yep. Go to town.
sit down like Winnie the Pooh?
Yep. Jake, how are you doing? Got the pickles hat? I like it.
Yeah, this is one of the birthday gifts. It's a corduroy pickles hat. Shouts out to my friends at Official League. They're internet friends, much like Ian Happ is my internet friend. But yeah, I'm doing well, man. Coming off a good weekend, a crushing victory for the Badgers, and a moral victory for the Bears. I really liked what I saw from Justin Fields yesterday, especially in the second half. Super composed after being down 21-3 and coming back, and they should have won that game. They definitely should have won that game. And I listened to Chicago sports radio. The Chicago listeners will know 670 The Score. They had Trent Dilfer on this afternoon, and it was like what he said about Justin Fields got me like a little too excited. So yeah, I'm excited. I don't know. I should know who we're playing. Oh yeah, we got Thursday Night Football against the Colts.
Have you seen the unis?
No, not the Colts. No, I haven't yet.
So they're going to be wearing orange tops and orange helmets.
I saw that.
Oh, I think I did see that.
It's an orange
Yeah.
game.
They're playing Carson Wentz, right? Who's Carson Wentz? Is that the Commanders? The Commanders, yeah.
I'd probably take anything Trent Dilfer says with a grain of salt because he only has a Super Bowl because he had a great defense.
Yeah, I was looking at his stats this afternoon. I was like, this guy was a Pro Bowler one time. And Mitch, how was your weekend, man?
Oh, it was good. Got out hunting a little bit and enjoyed some time outside, cut some wood. Yeah, it was some good, refreshing weekend. So nothing to complain about.
Did you guys did we watch the wild card games? I caught the whole first day of games, and I didn't think I would like these expanded playoffs, but the wild card series is really fun, man.
The Cleveland Rays series, that 14-inning affair, was a lot of fun. And it just is funny because the first game they played was done in 2 hours flat.
Yeah.
It's super fast. No at bat went over 4 pitches, boom, it was done. And then that one was long, but you were so into it. You're oh yeah, there's not a guy on second base in the playoffs. This is how it goes sometimes. And it was a pitcher's duel. And it was great. It's great to see that the Phillies knocked Yadier Molina and Pujols. See ya. We won't have to see them ever again. In a uniform. They're gone. But it's just been good playoffs, and I can't
believe that 8-1. They were up 8-1 And
Oh
the-
my
and the
God,
Blue
yeah, the
Jays
Jays.
lost.
Yeah.
That was-
that game was crazy nuts.
The Mariners look pretty good though. Each of these teams came off and I went, oh man, they look good. Maybe they're gonna go all the way. And then I had to remember, by the way, there's 2 other teams on each side who've just
Yeah.
been waiting. And it's like, yeah, I'm still not gonna bet against the Braves. So
What's been the biggest? Are we gonna wait to get into this?
No, let's do it
am I
now
jumping
since
the
we're
gun?
into it. Let's get into it.
What was the biggest surprise of the first? Was it 4 series? Yeah, 4 series. So yeah, Mitch is showing it the graphic right now. So Cleveland over the Rays, swept them two games. Seattle over the Blue Jays, swept them 2 games. Philly over St. Louis, thank God, over 2 games.
mhm.
And then San Diego over the Mets, 2-1.
That Mets collapse, like, it's
Mhm.
just so epic. Like, you're up 10 games in your division, you lose that, and then I love the press conference with Pete Alonso. He said, like, when they asked him, "Do you deserve to be a division leader, or a division winner, even though you've won 100 games?" He's like, "No, we got swept by the Cubs."
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, yeah, you did, yeah, you did. And then they go and get beat by the Padres, and they tried to play some shenanigans. Buck Showalter last night with Musgrove with stuff on his ears. I think he just has weird ears.
he did. I think Buck did what any manager should do in that situation.
Definitely.
Like, you got a guy just mowing down your hitters like that. Like, you've got to try to
Do
jar
something.
the pitcher a little bit.
I was
if you
surprised
can't
he
get your
waited
offense
that long.
sparked. Yeah.
Like what was it?
But
the
like to
sixth
pick on
or
the man's
the sixth
ears,
inning,
he
yeah.
already has some weird ears, and then you're gonna like go like, come on,
What'd they find? Like Crisco or Bardol?
nothing.
They didn't find anything, but the funny thing was, and I don't know
Vagisil.
if this tweet, I don't know if this tweet was serious. Yeah, definitely. I don't know if this tweet was serious, but McCutcheon tweeted something about like
Yeah.
pitchers putting Red Hot on their ears, and I've never heard of that. And I don't like. Again, he could be trolling me, and I could be getting trolled on this live podcast right now. But he said that like it helps pitchers stay focused and in the game, and I'm like, I have never heard of that before.
That's the last thing I want is my ears on fire when I'm trying
There we
to
go.
concentrate.
Next year, summer ball, Jake, try it out. See
I'm
if you
gonna
get
have to
locked
figure
in.
out what did he mean. Icy hot? Was that like? Did he mean? Because I was
He
like, what's
could.
Red Hot? Like the gum?
No, like, Red Hot is a
Spitting
kind of
bubble
hot
gum onto
sauce.
it? Oh yeah, right.
It's a kind of hot sauce, but
Yeah, you
I
can
don't
tell.
know if-
You can tell I don't like spicy stuff.
Well, I don't know if
For
I
not
could be
knowing that.
rubbing it on like tender.
The only
parts of
hot
my
thing I
body
like is my
ears.
wife. I don't like
Facts,
spicy
yeah.
food either.
I like to enjoy all foods. I just don't want to cry when I'm eating, and be able to taste other foods the next day.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well-
I would say the thing that surprised me, like, so I'm not super surprised about the Mets or the Blue Jays. I kind of all year, like I looked at the Mets lineup, because of fantasy, like I looked at the Mets lineup quite a bit. And I never, like, yes, their offense was good, but I never really understood like why. Like, they've got Pete Alonso, they've got Francisco Lindor, and then like Jeff McNeil and Brandon Nimmo when he was
Yeah,
healthy.
Nimmo.
Like, who am I missing? Like, who was like the linchpin of that offense if not Pete Alonso? Which again, Alonso hit over 40 home runs this season and drove in over 100 runs. But like, I
He did
never
his
really,
job.
yeah, right. But I never felt like that offense was really legitimate. Like the pitching was the thing.
As soon
for
as
them.
Scherzer gave up those runs, I knew the series was over. Like,
Yeah.
as soon as if they couldn't be carried by DeGrom and Scherzer, they were done.
No, and that, like, yeah, I mean, but at the same time too, like, it goes back to the old joke of like the Mets not being able to put up runs for DeGrom. And the same thing, like I mentioned the Jays, like the Blue Jays have been hot the last 2 seasons, and like I never, like, listening to Talking Baseball or just like reading about baseball, listening to all the podcasts that I do, like I never felt like people were talking about the Blue Jays as contenders in the East. And so I'm not surprised because the Mariners have this different kind of momentum going right now, man. And the Jays just kind of seemed like from a distance to me, like uninspiring all season.
What's interesting is it's not really like the best record doesn't guarantee you getting into the World Series most years. It's kind of who's hot.
Yeah.
Who's hot?
Totally.
Pitching can
Yeah.
pitching carry you? And especially in this year with the wild card with best of three, it's
So-
like anything can happen.
Yeah, anything can, and it's just like the next round. Some of these teams that have sat idle and haven't played, like I think they could struggle because they haven't played since last Wednesday. Or
Yeah.
Right.
yeah,
That's what I think. That's going to be the most interesting aspect of this next series that starts tomorrow. Is we're going to have all four of those teams who've been sitting. How are they going to react to a team like the Phillies or the Mariners who just went out and just stomped through their opening round?
Yep, that's what I've been telling my buddy that's a huge Yankee fan, the student, and I'm like, dude, like it's never good to sit in any sport. Like it's never good to sit. Especially in baseball, when you're playing 162 and you're playing every day, and then you have 3 days off, 4 days off. You're like, what do you do with your life? Like,
Yeah.
and so
didn't we have the best record in baseball in 2016 going into the playoffs?
we did.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
so nervous. I'm like, Christ, we got the most wins.
Had to bring out the
best
lasagna.
record.
Oh, especially that game one
yeah.
when you're, that was nerve wracking.
Did you guys see that Aroldis Chapman did not make the ALDS roster?
Yeah,
I don't think he was going to anyway.
Didn't Tom predict that? Tom
Yeah.
predicted that last week, right?
Yeah.
He actually didn't he like miss a meeting and didn't have a good enough excuse.
Oh yeah.
He missed a workout or like
something.
He just didn't show up.
But what the story that came out today was he asked them prior to the workout, like at the end of the season, am I going to be on the roster? Can you guarantee me being on the playoff roster? And they said, no, we can't guarantee you. We don't know yet. And because they couldn't guarantee him a spot, he just didn't show up. And it's like, that's the wrong play if you want to make
Dude.
Like teams aren't going to go after you now. Like you're a free agent. Like you're not going to.
He's already had his issues in the past.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
it's not it just like adds to that to that like what the book that's out on him, right? So it's and that's not even like accounting for his on-field play this season, which was all over the place.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I didn't look at hang on a minute. I have Clay Holmes up here really quick. Let's see. Because he's obviously the closer when Chapman's out. Like if the back end of their bullpen isn't ready to go, like that's a big deal for the Yankees.
especially with a
Scotty.
Cleveland team that puts the ball in play.
Yeah.
So
Scotty to help a bit, Scotty.
Oh,
Alds.
true. Yeah.
for us. All right, let's go around and let's make our predictions for this round.
I was 4 for 4 in the first round, by the
You
way.
were.
I
All right, Kevin, starting with you.
I think the Yankees will take it over the Guardians. Let's see. Oh man, I think Seattle takes it over Houston. I think the Braves take it over the Phillies. Oh man, Padres or Dodgers? I don't think the Dodgers are as deep as maybe people think now. I think they've gotten injured quite a bit. I'm gonna go Padres.
So you got Yankees.
Yankees, Mariners, Phillies,
Mariners.
Padres.
Okay. All right, Jeffrey.
What?
Well,
Wake up.
you're doing a
Jeff.
podcast. I don't know if you know this.
Put the fork down.
who's your
plate
picks?
Can wait.
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna go the Yankees. I just don't know if the Cleveland's got enough pitching for the Yankees hitting. I'm gonna go Dodgers. Even though I don't like it, I'm gonna say the Stros. And I'm gonna go with Atlanta.
Atlanta. Okay, Jake.
Yeah, so I'm going to start with the Guardians. I think the Guardians pitching is legitimate, and I think their young offense, they rely on putting the ball in play. And I don't know what the Yankees infield is looking like right now. I mean, Oswaldo Cabrera, Gleyber Torres. I mean, who's playing? I don't even know who's playing third for them. Obviously, we got Rizzo at first, but I think they're. I mean, unless they like restart their rotation, because it was Bieber and who started game 2 for them? Do you guys know?
What's his name?
Oh, McKenzie.
Oh, was it Tristan McKenzie?
Yeah.
Okay, because I thought maybe McKenzie lined up for game 3. So I'm guessing like if they don't, I guess Bieber could go again on short rest. Otherwise, they've got Aaron Savali, who's been good recently. Like toward the end of the season, he was really good. So I don't know, man. I think the Guardians pull out the upset there, and I think the Yankees just kind of
Head to head this year, Yankees have won 5, and Cleveland's won 1.
They're due. There we go. They're due. For Seattle and Houston, I love the Seattle story, man. But I think this is a case of the 2015 Cubs, right? I just don't think that they're.
Yep.
I think they're not quite there yet. And Houston's Houston, so I'll take Houston for that round. And then of course, we got Schwarber, and I like a lot of players on the Phillies, but the Braves are just too good up and down the lineup, and their whole pitching staff, bullpen, and starting rotation is insane. So the Braves take that, and then I don't know. I don't like the depth of the Padres starting rotation. I know Snell went in that first round, but like, who do they have now? Clevenger. I don't believe in Clevenger. It's the Dodgers, man. I kind of agree with what you're saying, Kevin, but in terms of the depth, but their offense will still find a way to put it together, and their pitching, they're kind of the Cardinals of the West, right? With the devil magic, but it's in the form of money. They just pony up the money.
All right. I'm going to go Yankees. I'm going to go Seattle. I'm going to get them one more magical run, and then they're going to lose in the next round. I really want to take the Phillies because I really want, Phillies have some strong pitching. They have Schwarber, which I really want to cheer for, but Atlanta is just too good. Atlanta's going to win that one. Yeah. And then I'm going to go the upset. I'm going to go the Padres. Padres, they have a little chip on their shoulder. They're playing with a little bit of angst, and I like it. I like the vibe that they're putting out. I like Machado brings it in the playoffs. He gets a little chippy. I like that. Juan Soto, I think, is going to have a breakout series here. I'm calling that Juan Soto is going to do some things. And I mean, bad news is going to be shoving on the mound at least one of these games. You Darvish, you got Snell. I think Musgrove is going to do well. I think they have the pitching that can match up with the Dodgers, and I want the Dodgers reign to kind of end. And so I'm going to pick the Padres. So
I hope you're right. I hope you're right with the Pods.
Yeah, but they're going to be fun series to watch. The thing that stinks is you have the East Coast over here, so that game's going to be early, and then you have the Padres. Dodgers are going to be so late. I don't know if I'll be able to stay up and watch all those games.
There's no way.
But
there's no way. I mean, I love playoff baseball. It's just got a different vibe and feel to it.
Yeah.
And it just sucks. Like the West Coast games are so late. Even like regular season when you're trying to catch the Cubs when they're on a West Coast road trip, and it's like
so late.
This game's going to start at 9:00.
Yeah, because I was gonna say that, like, I was gonna ask you guys, like, what's your series to watch if you could only watch one? And I think it is the Padres Dodgers, but that West Coast time is tough. So, like, for me, it honestly might, like, my second choice, I think, is going to be the Guardians Yankees, because I think the young Guardians lineup is going to surprise some people.
I mean, the Phillies Braves game is going to be an early game, and so that's going to be fun to watch. See Schwarber, see Castellanos, and the Braves are, I mean, they're fun to watch. So good series all around.
Yeah. Are they doing the game times like they did for the wild card round where they're doing 4 stacked up like that?
I don't know.
I think they'll probably split it like one AL series and NL series. Yep. Let's see. Actually, no. Yeah, they got 4. We got 4 games tomorrow, boys. So
that's awesome.
So I think this is. Yeah, I agree. I think this is central.
Oh, look, something they haven't screwed up lately.
I think this is Central Time. So we got Phillies and Atlanta at 1:07. We got Seattle at Houston at 3:37, and then we got Cleveland at the Yankees at 7:37, and then San Diego at LA at 9:37.
Bedtime.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, playoff baseball, I can watch that tomorrow. But yeah, let's talk some Cubs. This is a Cubs podcast. Let's talk some Cubbies. We're gonna grade out by unit. So we're gonna give the infielders, the outfielders, the catchers, starting pitching and relief pitching a grade. Each of us are going to give our grade. Are we going to, Kevin, are we going to go standard based grading system, or how are we going to?
I don't think if we say 4, 3, 2, 1, people are going to understand quite as much as if we go A minus. Plus, we can give the minus pluses.
That's
I
true.
like your idea. I mean,
that's what we do at school I'm currently at is standard base. I like it, but
it's not bad. It doesn't make for great conversations over podcasts when you want to get into the nitty gritty, though.
We gotta go with old school grading. We gotta go A.
But you have
A
like
plus to
4
F
in
minus.
advance, 3 meeting expectations for target, 2 partially to mastery, 1 little to no mastery. I don't know.
Guys, let's not fix something that's not broken here. You know.
Well, the education system has done it over and over and over again here in the last couple of years, trying to change things up. But let's go with just the old school way of grading. So let's start with the infield. Kevin, we're going to start with you. What do you give our infield?
Ooh, do you mean the first half infield or the second half infield?
The whole year. You have to.
The whole year? Ooh, I'm gonna have to go. I'm gonna have to go B, maybe B minus. And that's heavily weighted towards the second half because I liked the second half a lot better than the first half because we had like VR and some of those folks in the first half that were booting the ball over the field. I really liked Nico's progress this year. I mean, it was fantastic. Wisdom I think he started off the year a little rough, but he came around a bit. I don't know. That's what I'm gonna say. I'm gonna say B minus. I don't know. Could be talked lower.
Jake, your facial expression said that you didn't agree with that one.
It's a D plus, man. Like I'm giving them a plus solely because of Nico. There were like, you could argue that Morel was a highlight, but like I don't know offhand, but I would guess Morel started more games in the outfield than he did in the infield. If it's close, I still think it's probably more outfield games. So like, yeah, man, I mean, like no production at all from first base, no consistent production from third base. And like, if you're going to have a competitive team, you have to have like solid contributors at both corners. Nico's progression, Nico gets an A++, man. Like that guy alone surpassed all expectations and made the Cubs fun to watch. But then second base was the same thing. Like if Madrigal had been healthy and like played how he did, I think August was when he was hot. If he'd played like that all season, that elevates them probably to like a C+, B-, because then you've got a solid turn, double play combo all season. You get to see, you feel good about the return for the Kimbrel trade. And then I don't know, Ian, if you're listening, I'm sorry, man. Like, I love Patrick Wisdom. He seems like a great dude, but just like, I need more consistency from him. Like, yes, he hit 20 some home runs again, but like, what was his batting average? Like the low 200s. If you're going to do that, you got to be Kyle Schwarber and hit like 40 home runs and bat like 220. Jeff, what's your grade?
Jeff, what is that behind you? Is that like a hookah? Is that what is that lamp thing?
It's an old kerosene lamp, but I do own a hookah.
Of course you do.
My brother spent some extensive time in Kuwait and felt I needed a hookah. I have experimented with different types of tobacco and some of the devil's lettuce.
Okay.
So if you guys
open and honest here,
if you guys want to see it, I'll bring it down for next week's episode.
That's all right.
Putting it out
give the infield a rating. What grade do you grade them out at?
Well, you kind of threw me for a loop because I was just solely thinking about defensive ratings here, and Jake went with the offense. Also, I'm going to have to agree closer to Jake. I'm going D-. If you throw in like offense in there. Now, we have had like a mixed batch of a lineup on the infield all year long with first base, third base, some different people playing second and short. Man, with a lot of errors. So I'm going D.
D or D minus?
Let's go D minus.
D minus. I'm gonna go with a C minus. And that's only because of Nico Horner. The rest of them got an F, and we'll see in summer school, because none of them deserve a passing grade. And the only reason, if they were a group together and it was a group project, Nico would be the one that would be doing all the work, and the rest of them would be just showing up for the presentation and saying, "Hey, what do we got, Nico?" and hoping for the best. And Nico would be one where he would start the presentation off, and then he would turn it over to them, and they would have nothing to say. And so, like, that's how I kind of feel.
That's a
like
pretty good analogy. Yeah.
This year is gone. That third base, Wisdom did not produce like I expected him. I thought last year he was pretty good defensively. This year, there was a lot of mistakes, and to the point where the second half of the season, he didn't play a lot at third base. First base, we got nothing the whole year. Like, Schwindel didn't work out. We threw some other guys there. It just didn't work out. And so first base, there was nothing. And then, like you said, second base, we're hoping on Madrigal. Nothing much. Nico didn't have anybody to pair with, and there was just no consistency at any of those positions where the last 8-10 years, we knew who was going to play short. We knew who was going to play second. We knew first. Rizzo was going to play first every day. We knew who was going to play where. This year we didn't, besides Nico every day at short. And so going to give them a C minus.
I totally forgot that Andrelton Simmons was even on this team.
Yeah, God.
He played for a month and a half. Let's move to the outfield. Starting with Kevin again.
Okay.
Let's rate the outfield.
Outfield. I'm kind of seeing where we're going now. I was thinking mostly defense earlier, but I'm kind of putting it together. I'm gonna give them a B minus. Make them hungry for more next year. That group project score that's like, that you'll be okay with this one, but no, you want to do better. Hap really carried that squad. Suzuki turned it on, had his up and downs, and really showed that next year around he's going to be doing really well. Going to be leading the squad, I think, over there. And then center field was an interesting combination for part of the season, especially at the beginning of the season. Before Morrell came up, and kind of stabilized it up there, because we had you had Crook up there for a little while. You had Ortega had a lot of games at the beginning of the season. We had a fair amount of Hayward. So I'm gonna go B minus. B minus, make them hungry for more.
Jake, what about you?
Yeah, I'm right there. I'm gonna say C plus. Looking at the league-wide statistics, the Cubs are 15th, right in the middle, for WAR, Fangraphs WAR, and they are 13th for WRC plus, and they rated out just above average at a 103 as a group. Like, what more can you ask from Ian Happ? Huge defensive strides, all-star season. Showed a little bit on the base paths with getting some action and some steals this season. I think like Seiya too. I think if he hadn't had that nagging, lingering ring finger or whatever finger it was injury, I think we would have seen him come around sooner and have like a really productive season or a longer productive streak like he did at the end of the season. Like Kevin said, center field is kind of the interesting one. I don't know what to expect. I know we'll get into it toward the end of the episode here. I don't know what to expect center field next season.
I'm going to play center.
Oh, Jeff's playing center?
I'm
Okay,
playing
well
center
then you
field.
can expect that grade to tank probably to like a D, maybe a D minus.
No
I don't know
range.
if Jeff has no range. Yeah.
I'm just going to look at Ian. That one's yours.
They might put Hap back in center field and Jeff plays left. But No, I think that the outfield was a bright spot with Seiya, but specifically Hap. Jeff, what's your grade?
Oh boy, I don't know. I tell you what, I was really happy with our left fielder all year. It was great. Normally we have a solid right fielder who's a what, 5-time, 7-time Gold Glove winner, but he can't hit the ball out of the infield. So we didn't have that great defense there most of the season. But I don't know, C plus.
I'm gonna go with a B.
See, I was right there, Mitch. I'm right on the borderline. If they would have done some extra credit, they would have been.
Yep. Extra credit could have, but we don't offer extra credit here at this school. No extra credit. You get what you get. Should have done better on the exam or on the assessment. Yeah, I'm going with a B, and it's mainly because Hap and Seiya. I mean, their OPS is pretty high. They were the bright spot. They were kind of the reason why viewers tuned in. Is Hap being the consistent leader on the team and all the things that he did, even off the field, of really stepping up and being a leader. His podcast was enjoyable to listen to. So like those are the things, like it's center field. And in the thing that hopefully we address this offseason is either establishing one of the young guys and throwing them in there and seeing what we got. Hopefully Brandon Davis kills it in spring training and he forces the hand to get thrown into center field. I don't know if Brandon Davis has the range to play center field either. I think he's gotten bigger and bigger over the last couple of years, where he's more of a corner outfielder. So yeah, B, just because I think Seiya can met expectations for what I had for the year, and Hap blew my expectations for what I thought he was going to be out of the water. I thought the way he ended last year was kind of maybe a fluke, and I was like, okay, I don't know if we can get even somewhat of a baseline on Hap this year. Great, but he exceeded my expectations and did awesome. So that's where they get that, is B. Let's move on to, should we do catcher? There was 3 of them.
Yeah, I think we can quickly go through catcher.
Yeah. So we had Higgins, we had Jan Gomes, which we just picked up in the offseason, and then we had Willie. And this is probably, I'm guessing, the last year of Willie. So quickly, Kevin, what's your grade?
Ooh, first half looked so good, and then second half kind of seemed to drop off.
With Jan Gomes getting hurt, that kind of,
Yeah.
and then Wilson going down with the ankle.
Right. That's kind of one of those, did they misread the rubric? Did they skip a whole, section of the assignment?
Yep.
Something like that. Or do you give them that, they did really well in the first 2 sections, so you give them a little bit higher grade because it's going to balance out. I'm going to go B+. I think it was a good start. I think without some injuries, it would have been fantastic all year.
Yeah, I agree. I say B+ as well. Again, looking at the stats, they ranked in the top 10 for both WRC Plus and WAR as a group. And I really like what Gomes brought to the table. The pitchers were really complimentary of him. So I think even with Wilson almost inevitably gone next season, the pitching staff's still in good hands. It'll be interesting to see what we're able to do offensively. But yeah, I'll say B+.
Jeffrey, D? Is that where you're
No, I was going to go B-.
B-, okay.
But I mean, I was really surprised with Jan Gomes' play, and like he actually contributed at the plate. Like I was so unsure when they signed him. I'm like, great, this is another Alex Avila, but
Avila,
whatever.
Avila, isn't that a musician?
Might be. I think you're thinking of Avicii, whatever. But no, I was really surprised by his play this year, and
I'm gonna go with a B just because Higgins was awesome, and he raked. He did what we needed out of a third catcher, backup catcher, and him filling in at first. Yeah. Besides
you still
that,
have his shirt.
Yes, I still do have his shirt. Yep, bought it off eBay from him. But I mean, Jan Gomes, I said it from the very beginning that was a great pickup, and he's a great receiver, pitch receiver, and so he's great behind the plate. And Willie did offensively kind of just average Willie year. Nothing that broke any records, but Willie did what Willie does. And so, yeah, right there. B. All right, let's move to starting pitching.
Dumpster fire.
Kevin.
Oh, I don't know. I feel like this one's kind of hard to.
It's very hard because
like expectations going into the season, I expected starting pitching to be low, and then as the season went on, especially the second half, they were really good. So it's kind of would they have like the third lowest ERA across starting pitching for the second half, almost, or most of the second half? When you take that into account, my expectations for them, I'm gonna say, I guess I like this grade. I'm gonna say B+.
B+. Okay.
Jake, what you think?
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking, like, I'm looking at them as a group right now, and I'm thinking kind of like a C+, B-. I can't. At University of Wisconsin, we had BCs instead of C- or C+ and B-, which I hated. But I'll give them a BC. I think that I don't know. Like, I think the coolest thing to watch was it sucked not having Miley, Hendricks, and Smiley healthy all season, and Stroman for that matter. But it gave us the opportunity to see what Thompson and Steele could do in a rotation spot, and then Wisniewski down the stretch. So, like, I'm giving them the reason why I can't really decide is because, like,
is there a cat in your lap?
This is my cat. It's spooky season, so we got the black cat here on the pod. But I think that it's the reason why I kind of look at like a B- is because they got those opportunities, and I really liked what I saw out of the guys that got the opportunities. I honestly think that if we had seen like more of like Alec Mills, Alec Mills, like, if I think I talked about him last week or a couple weeks ago, if we'd gotten more Alec Mills, I'd have been leaning like
you talked
B-.
more about Alec Mills than he actually got starts this year.
Yeah, and that's good. That's good. I don't know. I'm kind of in the middle, Jeff. What do you think?
I'm going right in the B+ range due to the fact that most of the kids in this group were not picked first for the project and got lumped together.
That's a really good way to put it, man. Honestly, like, that is really good.
Like, if you looked at our starting lineup at the start of the season and what we finished with, Wade Miley makes 6 starts this year. Drew Smiley maybe made 10. We didn't see Hendricks for most of the second half. I mean, there's a lot of these guys that were going to have like a role in the bullpen that turned out to be starters for the majority of the year, and I think they did a pretty fantastic job, with some clunkers in there. So,
yeah, if we could split like the starting pitching into 2 different groups, like there's one group that if we did use standard base grading, they would get a 1, little to no mastery, because they could not demonstrate because they weren't available to be able to actually do anything. That's them. That's like the Hendricks, the Miley, just because we couldn't even see what they had to offer. And then the rest of them would probably be getting like a 3. They met expectations for the target. They did a good job. They especially the Thompsons, he met expectations. He even exceeded expectations. Yet Assad, he advanced expectations. Yet Wisniewski, like,
I think you mean Winnipesaukee
expectations. So if we just went on that, like, they'd be getting like the A 90%. It's just that you have to kind of split them into 2 different groups because, I mean, Stroman, he met my expectations. He even probably exceeded mine. I didn't really know what to think of, like, especially after the first couple starts. It's like, I don't know, but like he did great.
He's going to be way better next year, I believe.
I mean,
didn't we have like 2 total clunker seasons of Yu Darvish before he started to emerge
Right.
as like.
Even Smiley, he exceeded my expectations. So like
right.
when we were just going those, like they did pretty good. So overall for pitching, I would say B plus. So let's go relievers.
This also will be hard because we almost got a new set of relievers.
Two different-
after
The
trade
relievers
deadline.
are almost as spooky as Toppling Goliath Soul Hunter beer.
Nice.
You can get Soul Hunter beer by looking at tgbrews.com beer finder, find where you can find some Soul Hunter in your area. They're also selling a sweet Soul Hunter t-shirt at tgbrews.com store. Great time for Halloween coming up. Be as scary as our bullpen. Not in a good way.
Right. Oh,
Kevin, what's your grade?
hard. This is hard. I mean, they traded away the best pieces. So how would that work in a group project? You had 3 guys who were, they dropped the class. and
They
went to
moved.
another
They
one.
moved to a different.
They
There
moved.
you go. Yeah. I mean, you had Efros, Gibbons, and Robertson all in there for a little while. Oh, God.
It became basketball season. They got recruited to the
Oh,
Catholic
yeah.
school.
Yeah, there you go. You had some really interesting stories at the beginning of the year with, oh my gosh.
Oh my God, yeah, what was his name?
Ethan Roberts.
Yes, Ethan
Yes.
Roberts.
That was a cool name, a cool story that you had at the beginning of the season. I mean, Jake thought Locke St. John was going to be the next reliever.
He had like 3 good innings and like a start against the Cardinals or
No,
something.
he only played the game that we went to. That one inning. That was all he got, and then he got DFA'd the next day.
That's
Yes.
right.
Yeah.
Oh
He
my
started
God.
the game with a 0.0 ERA in the majors, and when he left that inning, it was like 18.
Oh my God.
13.5.
Really how they updated on the scoreboard at Am Clam Family Field.
Mhm.
I was like, Jesus.
Yep. I'm gonna say.
Do you still have that autographed baseball that we got at the iCubs games?
I have the Matt Schwarmer baseball right here.
Oh, we might have
Oh,
gave away the Luke
Schwarmer.
St. John.
Yep, I gave away the Luke St. John, and I gave away those 2 others. But yeah, I still have the
Matt Schwarmer.
Matt Schwarmer.
I forgot.
Dude,
about
if we could have got our
Schwarber, too.
hands on a Hayden Winnispasaki ball.
Hey, Schwarmer was one of the pitchers that gave up 2 of Aaron Judge's home runs.
Oh, hey.
So there's
I
that.
always remember that.
So I have an autograph of a guy who gave up 2 of Aaron Judge's home runs. It's basically an Aaron Judge ball. I could sell this for millions.
Yeah.
Good luck with
Yeah,
that one.
there you
I
go.
like it. For a grade, oh man, I'm feeling like a D plus. There were some shining moments. Some folks came in and did some nice things, but then you had the clunkers, and then you had, we had to give Rowan Wick 8 billion miles of runway to just shit the bed on. So
Well, I saw a stat today during Jed's press conference of how many outings.
I'd
So
like it noted.
Efros had, I think, 49 outings for the Cubs through like half the season. And Rowan Wick, I think, had like 68 appearances or something like that. It was like he led by a lot. And you're like,
Right.
man, why was that dude? And then you had like Michael Rucker was up there and getting the most like appearances.
Yeah,
I was like,
Rucker.
what are we doing? How are these guys? Like,
right.
okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it's like a C plus. There were definitely guys that I liked seeing, like Javier Assad. We got to see some Manrod down the stretch. No, not Assad. Assad's starting. Who am I thinking? Espinoza?
Espinoza, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. And like Brandon Hughes has been
Hughes
solid. Like, I don't know, man. It's tough again because we brought up the first half stats versus the second half stats, and like I will say this, I kind of hope that we are in a position next season that puts Keegan Thompson in the bullpen.
Yeah.
And if Adrian Sampson is still on the team, it puts him in the bullpen because down the stretch here, like I felt like all season and definitely last season too, we felt like, okay, we've got guys we've got bullpen arms. And, like you said, we were relying on Rowan Wick and we were relying on Michael Rucker. And I know there's another name that I'm missing that got a lot of too
Mark
many.
Later Jr.
Yeah, Mark Later Jr. was okay. There's one other guy that's kind of in the Michael Rucker, Brad Wick, right? But Wick's been hurt. So I don't know. C plus. I feel good about the pitching overall, but I feel like we need the right guys in the bullpen. And I think Alzolay and Thompson definitely need to be in the bullpen at the start of the season next year.
What about you, Jeff? Will you rate it?
Oh my goodness. I'm probably gonna go lower. Kevin say like a D, and Jake was like a C
plus.
something. D plus. Yeah, I'm gonna slide right in there with that D plus. Mainly because there was a lot of games when somebody come out on the mound, I'd have to look them up because I figured they pulled them out of the Whole Foods from stocking shelves or something.
I'm gonna go with a D plus because of Hughes. Alzolay finishing strong, but the rest of them, it was a struggle, especially the second half of the year. There was a lot of games that I think we would have even had a better record if our bullpen would have been a little bit better.
Totally.
And so, yeah, I think we could have finished with a little bit better, not relying so much on the Michael Ruckers and the Rowan Wicks of the world.
I mean, it's really weird. We had really good K numbers. We were in the bullpen was in the top 10 for K percentage, and it's third in Ks or fourth in Ks per nine. But the collective WAR is 0.9, and the ERA is 4.12. So it's I don't really know. I'm looking at the numbers here. I don't really know. The home run to fly ball rate, we gave up the most home runs by home run to fly ball rate percentage, 15.1%, which is absolutely insane. I think the league average this year was maybe around 12-ish. So we gave up a lot of home runs, the bullpen did. And how many saves did we convert? I mean, obviously we only had 44. I don't know, man. It just feels like there were some things that were really good and other things that were really, really brutally bad. But I think it also goes back to conversations that we had earlier on in the season when people were questioning Rossi's bullpen management. It's we got to get more out of the starters. We got to get more innings out of the stars. I think that this bullpen's great. It looks a lot better if you've got starters consistently, giving quality starts of 6 innings or more, and you're leaning on the bullpen less and able to put them into situations where they're succeeding instead of cleaning up, right?
Yep.
I think that makes a huge difference in the long run.
Yep. All right. Well, we gave all of our grades. Jed Hoyer gave his end of the year press conference, touched on some things. One of the big things that kind of all of us kind of knew going into it, he did say that they were going to offer Wilson Contreras a qualifying offer. That was kind of as expected. A lot of talk was about Nico Horner. Nico Horner came up a ton during the press conference, and they even kind of paired him with Ian Happ and talking about extensions. And I don't know if Jed really got into, he said they were going to pursue different players. He's never going to give you names, and have some serious extension talks this offseason. When brought up Horner, what are your guys' thoughts? Is that something you think is going to happen? Is that something that you think, do you think Jed actually alluded to having those conversations with Hap? He talked a lot about Hap's leadership, that they love seeing that the second half of him, especially after the trade deadline, really becoming a leader in the clubhouse. So what are your guys' thoughts with that?
Well, one, why do the Braves get to sign all of their young players? I
They just signed Strider today.
Right. I want the Cubs to do that in a lot of regards, so I'm happy hearing this. But I'm always a little leery when you got the guys up top talking, because they can say whatever they want and then turn around and do something else. I would love to see an extension for Hap. love to see maybe some paperwork there for Horner. That'd be great to see too. I don't know, Jake, what do you think?
Yeah, I think like the offseason should start with extending Nico Horner. He's the bright spot of the team this season, as we talked about. He's the one saving grace for this infield.
I mean, that was going to be one of my questions to end is what's the first order of business?
Yeah, I saw that.
All the
I
signings,
jumped the gun.
No, but that's awesome. Like that is something that should happen right away. Like that, I think would set the tone, and it would set the tone for any free agents that are coming here. It's like, okay, we know we have somebody that's established, signed for a long term. It's not like it has been before where there's letting all these guys go. They at least are going to they see the investment. They see what Nico Horner does on the baseball field and all the things that he can do. He can run, he can play defense, he can hit, he can do it all. Like signed to a big extension, that's going to get other guys to want to come. So I do think that's the thing.
Yeah. I think like as much as I want to extend Hap, like I think it's in a really interesting spot with our majority of our prospects being outfielders, right? I think it's a tough spot because we think we know what we have in Hap, right? It's a season and a half of like really good numbers and like consistency all throughout this past season for the most part, and improved defensively, like I talked about. But the problem is that his contract is coming up at like the worst time. Like if we had 2 more years of Hap and we saw like what our minor league guys were developing into next season and giving, because some of those, like Brennan Davis is going to get run, Alcantara is going to get run, and Canarios, like all 3 of those guys I think are going to get run in the outfield at some point next season. But the problem is you've got Hap and Suzuki holding down the corners. And so the big problem, like we talked about, is what's going to happen in center field. And none of those prospects are really true center fielders. Like Mitch, you alluded to, Brennan Davis is continuing to fill out. And that was early on in his like prospect profile, that he's probably not a center fielder long-term, even though that's the position he's playing defensively right now. And so the reason
Pete Armstrong is 2 years away.
Oh, right.
Or a year and a half away. But he's only one that's legit center field. Right. That's him.
Right. And I mean, it's talked about all the time. Like he's ready to play major league defense right now. It's just the bat that we're waiting on. And so far it's been good. So the problem is if you extend Hap right now, I want to say like, okay, well, if Hap continues to play well and we've got, some of the prospects start to pan out, it's better to have options. It's better to have like a surplus of riches. Right. But at the same time, it's like, what if you lock down Hap and then he doesn't produce next season like he did this past season? Then you've got guys knocking on the door that are ready to play. What do you do in that situation? So I don't know. As I'm like thinking through it now, like I don't think we're going to see a Hap extension this offseason. I will not complain if we do, but I think if you're trying to think like the front office, I just don't think it makes sense for them to do it this offseason. But Nico should be a no-brainer.
Yep. Other things kind of talked about in the press conference was David Ross, and they had nothing but praise for David Ross. They talked a lot about the minor league system, and there was a question asked of, are we at the same point that we were in 2015? And Jed kind of said, no, like we're not, because in 2015, we had a big slew of our next generation of Cubs already in the major leagues. And right now we haven't had those guys even majority of them touch AAA. And so when looking into free agency, they're not going to go into free agency to jeopardize the future. They're kind of trying to have eyes on both. And he used the same phrase they used last year. He's going to spend intelligently, which, I mean,
it'd be nice if they spent it all.
But I think that where they're sitting, they are in a weird, tough position because they have all this talent in the lower levels that they don't want to necessarily block all the positions
and have nowhere for them to go.
But they want to have a commodity of like they want to have all these. So it's tough. Like they're gonna probably go get a rotation arm, and they're gonna get one bigger bat, probably one of the shortstops.
Man,
So
that'd be great
that's
if they had
where
first
they're not
base.
going to attack. They're not going to attack. I don't think first base. I think they're going to try to have Mervis play there next year. I think they're going to try to have Christopher Morel fill in at third. And then they're going to use the guys that they have down the minors, like Brennan Davis and Canario. They're going to throw them into center field, which they probably shouldn't, but they're going to throw them because that's the only place they can play them in the outfield, and to get at bats in the major leagues towards the middle of next year. That's just probably what they're going to do. And so,
but if that pans out and you've got Nelson Velasquez as your fourth outfielder, that's a really solid outfield.
Yep.
Like, that's a really solid outfield. And I think too, like thinking about other guys, like another guy that I know that they brought to, like one of the 14 prospects that they brought to Wrigley in the last homestand. One guy that I'm excited to see next season is Chase Strumpf. Like his strikeout, he really sold out for power, but I wonder if he can find a balance at the major league level, working with the major league hitting coaches, where he, I don't, so Strumpf is kind of a utility infielder. I think second base is his natural position. I think he mostly plays second and third. I want to say maybe he played a little corner outfield, just to like test the waters out there. But I'm excited to see what he can be as kind of like a bench option, because that means then you don't have to sign an Eric Sogard, a Jonathan VR. You've got Chase Strumpf,
right?
And I really hope that that's what that means going into the regular season next year.
And it allows Jed to kind of do what Jed does and go out and get a slew of decent bullpen arms to be able to kind of flip again at the break, and still know that they can fill in because they have a whole bunch of guys that they've got tested out this year. And I mean, they have the depth. That's the thing in the organization. They have the depth. I'm going to call it now. Pete Crow Armstrong is going to play in AAA next year, towards the end of next year. With the following year, he will be in the major leagues. He'll have a good spring training. So I think he's going to start at Tennessee next year, rake there, and then get moved up.
Which I think coincides kind of uncomfortably with the Ian Happ lack of extension, probably, because that'll be just in time to move Brennan Davis over to left field, and then you bring
Pete Crow
Armstrong right on up.
Yeah. I think if everything goes right, I think that's what we see. I mean, who knows? I mean, Brennan Davis lost most of the season to injury this year, right? So, and Pete Crow Armstrong lost all of last season to injury. Was that last season? Yeah, it was last season.
Yeah.
So who knows what could happen, like injury wise, right? That's a complete unknown that throws a wrench in things.
Same with our catching position. Miguel Amaya has been hurt, and we want to see what we have in him. We know he's decent bat. Can he call a good game? And so that's where we need just innings behind the plate, which even stinks even more because he was going to play in the AFL and then got hurt again. I think he broke a finger.
I want to say it was an ankle.
Or ankle.
Or a foot injury. And that's really a bummer because when he came back and was DHing after the Tommy John rehab, it sounded like he was hitting well, or at least making good contact. And after a year plus not playing, that's what you want to see. One thing I want to talk about that I I tweeted about it, I think when the prospects were at Wrigley at the last homestand. It is really cool that we've had all of these prospects to talk about and get excited about, with Brennan Davis out all season, Ed Howard out all season, Braylon Marquez out all season, and Miguel Amaya out all season. So those are four guys that we were really, really excited about in the last couple of years that didn't really contribute anything at the minor league level, yet there was still plenty to talk about with our minor league system. And while I agree with Jed's point that, you know, it isn't the 2014 Cubs yet because we don't have the top prospects in the same position. And our prospects aren't of the same caliber that they were at that point in time. I'm still really excited because I think that there's a deeper mix of prospects to work with. And I think that that's super important that we've been lacking.
Well,
I
it's
know that's a
something
point
that-
that's been made, but
It's something where they swung and missed last time when they tried to do the Cubs way and establish a minor league that would be feeding the major league team for years. They started out doing that, and then it kind of fell apart, and they sold, and then they didn't backfill. I think there was a quote. I was going to look it up because it was in an athletic article.
We were buyers and sellers at the trade deadline, like in 15, 16, 17, and I think 18. Like
This was Tom Ricketts. I don't know if you read the athletic article. It says we have to follow through on how you build a consistent winner. The way you build a consistent winner is to find a good young core and supplement them with the right guys at the right time. And I have confidence that Jed knows what he's doing. Now, that quote would have been really like, you're like, you should have said that to yourself a couple of years ago when you didn't supplement your core and you signed Sogard or you signed whoever, and you didn't go and spend when you should have in 2018 and 2019 and 2020 when you should have went and spent. But I think he kind of learned that lesson. So now he's saying that, like, hey, now when we have a time to spend, we're going to go after and we're going to go do it. But they have a surplus of minor league to be sustainable.
And on both sides of the ball right now.
Yep.
I mean, they've got pitchers and position players where
Yep.
it really turned out to be just the positional side that had the prospects towards the end there.
Right.
And it was just depleted after trades.
yeah, and I think that's one thing that I was listening to one of the podcasts over the past couple of days, one of the other Cubs podcasts, and somebody made the point of like, we need to, the Cubs are in a good spot if we can at the deadline be both buyers and sellers.
Yep.
And I think that like it's kind of rare for that to happen. Like, I don't think you see it I can't think of like examples.
Braves
like,
last year.
do you know what they did?
Well, they signed all their outfielders.
They signed all their outfielders, but they did make they made a trade of one of their pitchers, I thought.
I mean, like to give a scenario, like what you would have liked to see, like something that would if we'd been competitive this season, it would have been something along the lines of like, you know, you buy the bat that you need. And if Caleb Killian had come on in June and been good, then you're able to still trade a Wade Miley or a Drew Smiley if they're healthy and replenish the minor league system while you had traded prospects to get a bat in return. But then you're able to backfill the rotation internally because Caleb Killian had been pitching well and was dependable as a major league starter. So like it takes a lot of things to go correctly. So it's very difficult to maneuver. And I don't, Mitch, you might be right. I don't have examples off the top of my head, but like that's what the Cubs neglected to do after 2016. And it's off-season moves as well, right? It's off-season trades as well to replenish the farm system. So that's what needs to be done to keep the balance and make sure that we've got guys ready to fill in, whether it's, you know, utility bench spots or it's another stud minor leaguer coming up to fill a big role on the major league team.
Well, I don't have anything more. We've been talking for an hour about the Cubs. This is our season recap. So we are going to take a little bit of break, couple weeks, but we'll be back. Especially winter meetings will be right around the corner. Then there'll be signings and Cubs convention talk, and then it'll be spring training. We'll be right back in this thing, grinding through the season with the Cubs. But that does it for episode 101 of the Dingers podcast. Make sure you follow us at Dinger Cubs on Twitter and like and subscribe on all the podcasting channels. And yeah, Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Dingers podcast.